The WASP helicopter gives British lineups in War Thunder a highly mobile option for close air support. Let's check it out. In the early 1960s, the Royal Navy was going through a major transformation in strategy and tactics, which involved, among other things, entirely new anti-submarine warfare doctrines. A component of this was the idea of using ship-borne helicopters, which would be small enough to operate from regular warships without needing a conventional dedicated aircraft carrier, and to use them as a delivery platform for torpedoes and depth charges. The eventual result of this was a navalized version of the Westland Scout. This new naval version was ready for testing in late 1962 and had a number of features specific to naval use. In fact, the WASP was originally named the Sea Scout before getting an entirely new name to reflect the fact that really, it was basically a total redesign of the original airframe. The actual use of the WASP changed a bit over time, and the combat version was eventually armed with the SS-11 and AS-12 missiles. The WASP did eventually see combat in its originally intended role during the Falkland Islands conflict between the United Kingdom and Argentina. The Argentine submarine Santa Fe was attacked by WASP and Lynx helicopters, with the WASP scoring multiple direct hits with its AS-12 air-to-surface missiles. The Santa Fe was badly damaged beyond repair, forcing the crew to abandon ship. Eventually, the WASP went on to serve with half a dozen or so navies, with some remaining in service into the late 1990s. What we get in War Thunder is the WASP HAS.Mk.1. This is the second helicopter in the British tech tree, sitting at rank 5 and battle rating 8.3. This is a very basic helicopter. The weapon system is incredibly simplistic, with just the sensor point of interest and no other advanced targeting. You get a 10x optical zoom and standard night vision, which is about what you would expect from a helicopter this low in the tech tree. For loadouts, you get 4 AGM-22 missiles. The AGM-22 is the American name for the Nord SS-11. In real life, this is a manual command line-of-sight wire-guided weapon, but in War Thunder, it's given semi-active command line-of-sight guidance. Now, I've noticed that Gaijin has tended to give manual command missiles semi-active command guidance when mounted on helicopters, and my assumption is that this is to reflect the presence of the gunner, who would, in theory, take that workload off the pilot, but that's just a guess. In practice, this basically means that you just zoom into the target from the gunner's targeting view, fire the missile, and keep the reticle over the target. The effective range on the AGM-22 is a little over 3 kilometers, and this is not a fast weapon, so after firing it, you have to babysit the missile for a while before it lands on target. Now, the flight performance of the WASP is surprisingly good. This is a very lightweight helicopter with adequate engine power, good collective and cyclic response, and an effective tail rotor. With a little practice, you can flip this little thing around all over the place, and it's actually not especially difficult to dodge manually guided missiles if you can see them coming with at least a few seconds of warning. It's not especially fast, which really is the only shortcoming with its general performance. Flying the WASP out into missions doesn't give as much flexibility as I usually like. Now, the current helicopter meta really is basically just standoff missile attacks into the battlefield from long range. That can get kind of boring and repetitive, but with the WASP, it's literally all you've got, because the vehicle doesn't carry any guns, rockets, or any other weapons besides the 4 AGM-22 missiles, and you don't have any way to do anything except the standoff missile attacks. The missiles are too slow to use effectively for flyby attacks from the external view, as you might do with like rocket pods, and you don't even have a way to scout tag targets for your team. You just get 4 missile shots, then it's T-44. Now, I tried to have a little fun with the WASP, and I was punished for it. Yeah. But generally, the single weapon loadout of 4 missiles really limits this one's flexibility. Visually, this isn't a bad-looking little helicopter. The only thing I really don't like are the 2 floats on the sides of the fuselage. It's those things up on the top. You might be tempted to think that they're fuel tanks or something, but they're actually ballast floats to, stop the WASP from capsizing if it falls off the side of a ship or something. Now, landing the WASP is a unique experience. This is one of the very few helicopters ever mass-produced with a set of 4 landing wheels. Because of this, it has a pretty strong tendency to roll around a bit on touchdown, so you're going to want to make sure you're quick with the brakes. In real life, the WASP could pitch its collective a few degrees into the negative to help it kind of stick on landing, but in War Thunder, you can't do that, so lock up the brakes. To close out on the WASP HAS.Mk.1. This helicopter is pretty light and agile, with great maneuverability. It doesn't take many spawn points to fly it out into ground battles, and it's a small target that can be difficult to shoot down. However, it only has 1 weapon loadout, which kind of forces it into a very narrow playstyle, and it's kinda slow for a helicopter. The final verdict on the WASP is that you're forced into a pure meta standoff missile attack gameplay style, but if that's your thing and that's what you're going for, this can be a pretty fun and effective helicopter. As always, thanks for watching.